Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Ready for an adventure? Whether you're revisiting cherished moments or planning new escapades, Nostalgic Travel Talks is here to inspire your wanderlust. Let's take
Hi
off.
there, everybody, and welcome to Nostalgic Travel Talks. I'm here today with my good friend Alejandra Ovalle-Krolick. Hello, Alejandra. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. I'm so glad that you were kind enough to join me today. And I guess why don't we start with talking about how we know each other and what kinds of things that we have done. How long have we known each other? I'm trying to remember.
Since 2008.
2008. Okay.
Yeah.
That's when you became a teacher at the same high school, Franklin High School,
hmm
Franklin, Wisconsin. And I think from the beginning, I think we just had a great connection. Don't you think so?
I do. And if I remember correctly, you were my mentor
Oh,
my first year. Yep. So you taught me all the things.
and it was such an honor. That was an honor. And I think you have made me a better teacher as a result of just our relationship and working together through the years. I think we just had a great working relationship.
Yes, we did. I loved how much we challenged each other and pushed each other. And I always think to myself how grateful I am that I had you as like a role model. Because I always thought to myself, you always thought about what a student experience would be and how to make it as authentic as possible. And I think you pushed me a lot to think about it through the lens of a child versus like my adult lens. So I'm forever grateful, forever
And
grateful.
say the same thing to you. I just think that when you're surrounded by right by wonderful people, you and just professional, um, just knowledgeable. I don't even have all the words, but just that makes you want to be a better person and it makes you want to be a better teacher. And I thank you for that because I don't think I would be where I am today. Honestly, I really don't. If it hadn't been for our interactions, just our relationship. And
Ditto.
yeah, so I'm thankful for that. And one of the things that we got to do, I think it was the highlight of my career, was when we decided to take our show on the road, I guess, so to speak. And
Yes, yes. Starting that exchange program was probably definitely the highlight of my career as a classroom teacher. Yes, absolutely.
really was. And it was just so funny how it happened because before we did the study, before we started the exchange program, I don't think we had traveled together, had we?
We had not, no, which is really funny because doing an exchange program the way we did it is can be such an intense thing. And I sometimes think about that really our first bat at like interacting with each other and traveling with each other in a really meaningful way was doing something this intense. And it really is a testament to our relationship with each other that it was like seamless, the way it all worked out.
Yeah. And it was just so funny, all of the different pieces that fell into place for us to be able to do this. Because before doing the exchange program, we used to do those tours that you find in a catalog. I didn't do that with you, but previously, those were the kinds of tours that I was doing. And I think probably because of our partnership and because we had met someone in Spain who also, oh my God, I could go on forever about Loida and Victor and how they just became part of our, I would say, family. And
Yes,
I think the four of us were just an amazing team when it came to just delivering this experience for our students. And so I guess
absolutely.
we did as directors of this program. Um,
Yes, absolutely. When I think we had both done the tour trips before, both of us had had experience doing that. And I think both of us knew coming into this what we wanted for learners out of this experience and what we felt like maybe we'd been missing out. Not that people did not do a wonderful job, but we felt like we had been missing out all along. And I think it was such a great thing to have other individuals, like-minded individuals in Europe who we were able to collaborate with, and then to be able to do something like that was a really cool, like a really, really cool thing. Yeah.
yeah, I just have, like I said before, this was the highlight of my career, just being able to do that. And so I guess we could kind of uh, describe a little bit about what kind of work we did. Basically, we had our counterparts in Spain, Loida, who was an English teacher at the time, and Victor, who was a math teacher. And so um, they're on the other end, and our exchange, we had, I don't remember, maybe 10 students, or an
Yep,
average
something.
students each time.
Yep, it was about an average of 10. Yep.
And each time, so we got the students signed up to be part of the program. Then the students on the other end, so what Loida and Victor did was find students that would be willing to host, and then we had to vet them and match them with roommates, which I think was just so wonderful because these kids have now, once they've gone to Madrid, which is where they live, they would get this experience. Like, they felt like they were at home. I think they became siblings to these kids and got to do things with them just like a family. And I think that was what made the big difference between the kind of tours that we were doing before and the kinds that we did after we started this program. And so the kids got to go to school a few times, and basically they could compare and contrast what they know about the American school system and what the Spanish school system was like. And by the end, when it was time to leave Madrid, I feel like we were all crying.
Always. Always. Yeah.
And then on the other end, we hosted their students when they came to the United States to visit us. And not only for the students, but I think for the teachers as well. It was a great experience because we got to see what our counterparts do in another educational system. And, and we can maybe talk a little bit more about that throughout the throughout our time talking here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I always think about like how um it was such a fun experience to, once we knew kind of who was going with us, trying to match them up and match up personalities with the Spanish counterparts. And I always think about how long, and I don't want to describe it as torturous, but how much care we put into matching students to make sure that they were really going to be good fits for each other. Um, and I'm so grateful, even now, seeing some of those students still who still keep in contact with those families and still go back. And it's truly a testament to, how our families welcomed them and how their families welcomed us. But also, I think to myself, well done, group of four, that we were able to, match them up so successfully that their relationships still continue.
And how lucky were we? Just
Yes, the luckiest.
had such great chemistry, the four of us. Like, how would
Yes,
I've seen other exchange programs where they don't have that kind of relationship. And for us, it was definitely
yes,
a relationship. It became a
yes,
from the first trip. And I think it's
yes,
important. And, it's just funny. I just think back to, when we just traveling to school every morning is an
hmm,
comparisons between the different countries. Like when we went to Spain, we would take the subway to school with the teacher, with our host teachers every day. And when they would come to the United States, I mean, I remember us talking about it, how different it was, and how I was like, oh, I wish I could take the subway to school every day. I wouldn't have to drive. And then Loida would tell me, I remember her saying, yeah, it's kind of nice. You got your own private space. You can kind of relax and think while you're driving to school. And so I just think that that's just so important. Those kinds of
yes. And even the silly things like cup holders. I remember I remember conversations about cup holders that I all these things that you've never thought about that you completely take for granted that you're like, oh yeah, I guess that is a very American thing to do. And so I just think those are the kinds of things that are really memorable, but also they seem so small at the time, but they're really memorable.
That's the truth. Absolutely. Okay, and and we've been talking about how we would had the host experience in Madrid. And so that's how we designed it. We would always start in Madrid, and with each group, it was every trip was a little bit different. We didn't always go to the same cities, but we
For
all
sure.
started in Madrid. And I think that was strategic. We did that because
Yes.
we wanted them to have kind of an anchor, I would say,
Hmm.
and also for them to feel a connection, um, to the country. And I feel like if we had done it any other way, if we had started off in Barcelona and just been on the beach and done all of the tourist activities that you can do, and then went gone to Madrid, I don't think it would have had the same impact.
I couldn't agree with you more. I also think like the fact that they had to Spanish or they had to practice Spanish right away and really start thinking in Spanish right away and communicating in Spanish right away for, those, 8, 9, 10 days beforehand. I feel like then everywhere else we went afterwards, and even the trips that we took during, that time in Madrid, their ability to communicate with each other and with others was so different. Their ability to risk take in regards to the language was so different. Um, and that was like beautiful to see. Remember our first year, we had a student who was in Spanish one, remember? And they came on the trip with us, Sarah. And by the end of it, it was like, she had just grown, and you got to see this before your eyes, this little person. I shouldn't say that yeah, she was a young lady, but this person that takes so many risks and grow in their language. And I don't, what an honor to be there to witness that.
And not only that, but just, like you said, gaining confidence, and being able to communicate. I don't think they would have gotten that if they had started off without having a host family, you know.
Yes.
So that was absolutely, absolutely wonderful. And I can think of so many, just thinking about traveling with students. How many, I think our average trip was what did you say it was like 2 weeks?
Yeah, it was about 2 weeks. And I don't think we could have made it shorter than that. I don't think we could have been able to, they needed that time with the families, but I think we were very strategic in having time with the families, but also trips during the week as well, intermittently, but they still had the opportunity to be in school. I think you and I always try to count out so that they would be in school, I think like at least 3 full school days. So they really had to experience that, what that looked like multiple times.
I, that was so funny. Just thinking about how different the school system is, and
Yeah.
and how the reaction on I think on both sides, from when we were in Spain, our students saw such differences in the style of learning, and when they
Yes.
United States, I think they were kind of surprised too. I remember somebody,
Yeah.
not some of the time, like I think I visited the school without students once. I'm probably more than once. I've been to the school, and this was when I was just traveling by myself. And I remember just feeling like a rock star, walking down the hall because the kids are pointing at me, ooh, la americana. Walking through the halls, just those kinds of things. And if when the students asked questions, they were just like, is it like High School Musical in the United States? The images that they have of the American school system through film is just interesting to listen to how they
Yes.
about our system. So
Yes. And I also think like our um willingness to like adapt to schedules, and we had been doing this for such a long time together, but I think about, students who came from Spain coming in the spring during spring break versus coming. I remember they came one time, I think it was homecoming week or something, and I remember one of them saying, this is just like High School Musical. And I don't know that I could have like argued with them as
yes,
we were headed to a pep rally. You know what I mean? I mean, it truly. So it was really funny to see it through their eyes on both ends. To see it through their eyes was pretty cool.
I'm so appreciative of some of the teachers at our school. I
Oh
got
gosh, yes.
so many people because, like, think about Lou Brown. He took
Mhm.
kids under his wing, and he let them, because he was the gym teacher. I think it was such a great experience for them to participate. He let them participate in classes. And that way, not only the students that were part of the exchange program, having the students, not the ones that were hosting, not only that, so the other kids in the student body got a chance to learn something, and
Absolutely.
learning doesn't come from books, obviously. And so I remember him teaching them, I don't remember what sport it was, but they got to do so many things with him. I'm trying to think of who else stood out. But there were just
I I think like face classes were really, really tech ed classes were really, really good. I remember John Jewell, you know, um, such a wonderful educator, and he was always so good about allowing them to come into his auto shop and seeing everything. And well, and to your point, I don't think you can run a program like this without having a very supportive administration and district office. I mean,
yeah,
we were incredibly lucky that they say it one more time.
out to Mike Cady,
Yes, yes, and Wendy Dezurek, right?
of course. But
Um,
he was instrumental in helping us make everything run so smoothly when they were in the United States.
yes, absolutely. And I think that they made it so much easier for us because I think some people would have been resistant to the idea, but they were so quick to say, like, yes, this sounds like really, really cool.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And and just the community in general benefited
Hmm.
because it didn't just stay within our classroom. Everybody, they were exposed to all of these different subject areas, and like we've been talking about, so many teachers were supportive of not just the students, but the visiting teachers as well. Like the English teachers, especially Lisa Dennis and Aaron,
Yeah,
said, they they kind of took Loida under their wing and
absolutely.
exchanged. They talked about learning and teaching and all of those kinds of things. And I feel like Loida and Victor came to our meetings when we had, our
Department meetings. Yeah,
and I think that was a learning experience too. When we were in Spain, we got to talk to the other teachers and just had, just such good experiences. That stuff is going to last a lifetime. Those moments are going to last a lifetime.
absolutely.
Seeing students experiencing a new culture for the first time is it's just, I don't know. I don't know how to explain how wonderful that is.
I know it makes me like a little emotional thinking about it, to be honest with you, especially because I think one of the reasons that the trip became so successful, I remember thinking about year one to like the last year we did it, year one having to convince students it was a good idea, and then the last year having to be like, I'm sorry, we really cannot take more than the amount we're taking. And I think so much of it had to do with the fact that, every trip we tried so hard to really find out what the children wanted out of the trip. Like, what is the thing that you find valuable? What is the thing you've always wanted to see? What is the thing you're passionate about? I think about the group that was like really into soccer and athletics, and so it's like, okay, well then let's go see stadiums. And then the group that was like very much into art, and so it was like, okay, well let's see all the museums, and now we're going to go to Dali's house and see his house, and and I think that we were so lucky because I think the children were incredibly appreciative of it, but I think we also knew what we had in them, and we're like, they were in our care, and we took that so seriously. And we're like, no, 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 we are going to make this an unforgettable trip for you.
Right. Um, it's nice that you cared so much about the students because I remember wanting to go to a certain museum and I was shot down, you know.
Oh yeah, well the children didn't want to do it, so I couldn't do it. The Tapestry Museum lives on in infamy. I will you this is the reason that you and I have to go back together. Just for the Tapestry Museum.
I still haven't gone, and it's my mission. I'm gonna go to that Tapestry Museum.
I can't wait. You tell me when and where. Let's go together.
Country by storm. But I think, just some other memories that I have that make me laugh are the time we went to Park Güell in Barcelona. And for people who don't know, to get to Park Güell, it involves pain because it's way at the top of a hill. And
Yes, you are earning it. You are earning those views.
does it?
Say it one more time.
The bus takes you all the way up, unless I could be wrong.
I
But
don't know. I know we walked a lot, but but for your listeners, they should know that this is what you're notorious for. Everything is around the corner or down the block, and what she means by that, you never really know. That could be half a mile or it could be 5 miles, and you every time it's an adventure. So
um,
yes, thank you for my heart health.
because I remember when we left, okay, so you got to take that hill all the way up to Park Güell. And then when we left, I was just like, oh, let's just walk to Sagrada Familia. Um,
Oh yes. Oh yes, I remember this stuff. I think I had blocked that out for a while.
and I don't remember the walking distance. It was pretty far. To be honest, that was a little bit much, especially that's that was a good bit of work to walk all the way down that hill and then to Sagrada Familia. And then I think it was so fun having modeling things for students. Like if you're going to be out on your own, how do you how do you find your way if you're lost? And I remember, was it Larissa that
Yeah. Hmm.
I was just like, why don't you ask someone? Basically, I wanted her to, we just wanted to give them opportunities to practice their Spanish. And so I was like, so what would you do if you wanted to find out how to get somewhere and you're on your own without us? What would you do? Who would you ask? And so we kind of, because I part of it was my ulterior motive was I wanted them to be safe if they were lost,
Hmm.
send them out alone. But if they were going to be in small groups, what do you do? And so I feel like there were some nuns walking down the street that they asked, and she was
Yep.
asking. Might not have been a nun, but I do remember seeing nuns at some point, and somebody asked a nun for help getting somewhere.
No, I remember they were very strategic with the nuns because I also remember one time, I don't know what we were doing in Plaza Mayor, and they went right to the police officers to ask them a question about something. I remember, and I was like, well done, guys."
They did a great job. I mean, all of our groups, just and like you said, when we sat down to talk to them about what they wanted to do, getting to know because we didn't know all of the students before we traveled with them. Some of them
Right.
and some were not. And I think it was also important because, whether you're in like, and you alluded to this before, you said Sarah was in Spanish one at the time. It's important to not, because I know some programs do that. They limit students by, you have to have a certain grade in a class. And I feel like you should be able to experience that no matter what your grades are. And
Yes.
honestly, I mean,
I
learning
don't.
beginning is, you know, this
Yes. I that's one of the things I'm most proud of with our program, that we weren't super concerned with, what level you were in, and we also didn't have necessarily like a GPA prerequisite or anything. We did have letters. We did ask for recommendation letters, but I think you and I use that to learn more about their personality, to know what kind of fit would be a good fit. Because the reality is we had to be thoughtful about that piece of it and the dynamic of a group too. Because when you're together that amount of time together, you have to think about the dynamic of a group. But I'm grateful that we weren't, because I always think to myself, if for me as a student, I wouldn't have been able to go to a trips like that if there was a GPA requirement or things like that. Just because that just wasn't where I was at as a student. So I'm glad that we kept it open to everybody, and it was very much, is this going to be a good fit?
absolutely. And and that's the thing I think that's great for when you come back, you know, those the students have such fun stories to tell. And I think it just builds teacher student relationships. It builds relationships between students. And I think we've talked about it before about how even now, like how many years later, our last trip was in 2018, I believe.
Yeah.
And so that's been 7 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And these kids are still in communication with some of the people that they met over there.
Yeah, it's pretty surreal. I know.
And
These grown-ups.
yeah, I know, right? And I'm
Yeah,
just
sad.
to, to have helped um to make something like that happen, you know?
Right, right. Like how lucky were we that we, for this moment in time, were able to provide them with this, experience. And yeah, I mean, that's just grateful.
So, can you think thinking about traveling with students, what are some of the challenges that you recall of traveling with students?
Oh, homesickness
Oh,
was
yes.
always a heartbreaking one. I mean, because and you and I both know that I'm a bit I'm kind of sensitive. But I remember just, seeing them with the big tears in their eyes and knowing that you can't match that energy. You have to, like, okay, but what are the things that we're seeing that we're excited about, and what are we looking forward to, and helping them really be in the moment in spite of like the homesickness, because they're still kids.
And even grown-ups. I mean, I think we had homesickness too. Obviously, it's different for us
Yes.
because we're going to see friends. So it's not as,
Yes.
but friends that we already have, and they've got to navigate this.
Yes.
And I remember tears along the way in the beginning, but it was so nice to see that along the way that they got out, they snapped out of it and they were able to at least enjoy what they had. And then the tears were for a different reason when we left, which
Yes.
I know it's hard to, it's I liked seeing that because it made me feel like, wow, at least you I know you had a great time when you see those.
Yes. Yes. It was like mission accomplished.
I'm thinking about one of the challenges I remember, and this was actually before we did the homestay trips, but I remember one of the challenges that we had dealing with students was that I had a student who um, had a green card, and she had the paperwork, but it was a photocopy. So when we were
Oh
coming,
yeah.
we had to getting out was fine. Getting out of the United States was fine. But for her to come back, she needed to go to the US Embassy to get, and so she was denied boarding. And that caused a little hiccup because the rest of the group was able to go back to the United States, but I had to stay behind with her and just help her. We had to go to the US Embassy, which was kind of a frightening experience, to be honest, because
Yeah.
to see guns drawn and not drawn, I shouldn't say that, just armed officers at the entrance, and me being, I've never been to an embassy before, so I think he asked me, he was just like, can I see your passport? And I was like, oh, I'm not the one with the problem. And he was like, if you want to get in that building, show me your passport. But then it was smooth sailing, and they were so I missed a day of school, I think, because of it, because we had to
Yes.
come back. It took us a couple days to get this done. So we came back, and I just remember the administration was just very kind, and you know even
Yes.
they were just very very understanding about it.
And this is one of those moments where, as the adult, I remember we're like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? But with the children, we're like, this is gonna be fine. Don't worry, we've got this. And we believed it, and it was true, and it was fine. But I remember, there are moments when, especially when you have a group with you like this, where you're like, you are the one organizing it, and you are the one in charge of all those logistical pieces, where you're like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm the adult. I have to keep that game face on. Yeah.
Like the time, this was one trip. I think you missed this trip because I don't know if you were on maternity leave, but I
I
know,
think, yeah, there was one I missed for maternity leave. Yeah.
and and for some reason we missed our plane. Well, we got we we were on the subway heading to the train. We were on the train heading to the airport, and we missed our stop. So we had to go to the next stop and turn around, and that ate up a lot of time. And then once we got to the airport, the guy was just like, "You're not making this flight." We were there before the flight took off, but we weren't making that flight because I think it was just too soon. too close. I don't remember how much time we had to get to the gate, but we weren't going to do it. So but they were accommodating and they got us on the next flight, and it didn't ruin our connection or anything. So we got really lucky. Um, so luckily we haven't had too many of those kinds of things happen.
No. Well, and I think one of the things that I could see being a challenge is because I think we had to be very clear in our relationship and communication with each other and with our Spanish counterparts. And there were times I think that we all might have been, viewing things differently or like had a different perspective on something that was occurring, and that continuing to be humble in our approach and continuing to be collaborative in our approach was essential.
Mhm,
Because I don't think you can't have an ego when it comes to this kind of partnership, or it will not work. It
mhm.
has to be all in collaborative and
Absolutely.
trust each other, truly trust each other.
Mhm. And I think we definitely did. So those are some things that we learned along the way. Just how to manage a group, how to work together, be collaborative, um, all that teamwork. And it resulted in
Yes,
something really, really special that we should be very, that I am very proud of.
absolutely.
How do you think that those experiences shaped your perspective on teaching?
Oh my goodness. I don't think I would have been the teacher I was. If I was good at being an educator in any way, I think that had a direct result in that.
Mhm.
Um, because I think I had to consistently think about everything from the view of and perspective of a child.
Mhm.
And I had to really make sure that everything we were doing was through the lens of their experience, and I think that shaped me so much. I also think, quite frankly, having to learn um, different verbiage and phrasing and having to really practice my Spanish in a very intense way um, for weeks at a time every year was very, very good for me. um,
Very
I'm
humbling
trying to
for me.
Oh my goodness. Yes. The amount of times that people would laugh at a joke and I would laugh too, but I wasn't quite sure what the joke was.
Yeah, there were times. Absolutely.
um, those kinds of things. I also think too, like you know, it helped me not take myself so seriously as an educator because the children saw me stumble all the time and
Mhm,
just embarrass myself all the time. But then they saw me continuing to try.
mhm.
It's like, yeah, that was really embarrassing. I meant to say something completely different and it did not come out that way. But here we go again.
Well, and then I think that's another great way to build a relationship with your students because they see you as human and they realize, hey, she doesn't live in that building. And, this is
Yeah.
how we are. And we're silly sometimes.
Yes.
It's
Yes. Yes. Yes.
silly.
And it provided us with the opportunity to practice what we preach,
Mhm. It is
you
definitely.
know.
Um,
Yeah.
one memorable thing for me was when the students, I think, yeah, we were in Barcelona. So one of the things that I really enjoyed that we did was, after we left Madrid, sometimes we went to Barcelona, and that was one of my favorites because we found those apartments that
Yes.
we could stay in together instead of being in a hotel. And I think that also it made us it was like a family type of experience because
Mhm.
that those apartments were huge and they were
They
just
were.
amazing. And the students, do you remember the time the students made dinner for us?
I do remember that.
I
It
thought,
was so special. It was so beautiful.
and I don't think we asked them to, or
No, they surprised us. I remember. I
okay,
remember that.
yeah. And that
Yeah.
that was the other great thing about doing Madrid and Barcelona and then having like side trips from those places because when we were in Barcelona, because we were staying in an apartment, um, we had to go shopping, and that was another great cultural experience for them, having to go shopping because I think we gave them a budget.
We did give them a budget and we meant it. I mean, that was the best part of it.
Yeah, and I
Is
feel like we gave them money to shop.
we did give them money to shop and we were in the periphery, but yeah, we were very honest with them. Like, you don't understand. This is all we have. There's no extra coming from anywhere. And we
Yeah,
would show them the budget along the way.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was so fun. Like they had to decide between themselves. They I think they sat down and talked about what they wanted to eat. They
Yep.
put their grocery list, I believe. And
Yep.
then I think we took them shopping and let them do it. And they
Yep.
learned things along the way.
They sure did. They especially learned the art of compromise when they couldn't find, things that they wanted to eat,
Mhm,
or they or they did find them, but it wasn't exactly what they thought it would be.
mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you just can't, there's just no way to replicate that, you know? I think
Yes, truly.
it was just the best. It was just, I feel like every student should have that opportunity because it was just so special, you know?
Yes, yes. I could not agree with you more. I mean, I think just yes, just uniquely special and wonderful.
Mhm. Um, yeah, and I think what do you think about our balance between structure and spontaneity? Did we nail that?
I think we did a pretty good job. It's funny because you and I have very different personalities.
Oh yeah, we do.
I'm very much like I want to have a minute by minute breakdown of what's happening when, and you're very much like, you know what, we're gonna see where it goes, and I think for the children that was a really good thing for them to see us like navigate through that, but also because we couldn't ever steer too much in one direction
That's
because the
right.
other one would be like, actually, no, we're not going to be able to do that. And but this is where again, this is a testament to you because I think, I was a new teacher and it would have been really easy for it to have been your trip with me being an assistant. And it was never that. It was always a collaboration. And that meant so much to me. It empowered me as a new educator so much because I was like, if this person who I admire and think the world of so much and who was so exceptional at her craft already thinks that I'm worthy of doing these things, and like, well then yeah, maybe I am those things that she says and sees,
Oh,
so
you definitely
it
are.
was
You were.
it was such an empowering thing. I really yeah, I really am grateful for that.
Mhm. Well, I mean, it's funny because like I it's funny to hear you say that because when I think back to those times, I'm just like, you're the whole package, girl. You know, you've always had it. You have
Oh
always
goodness, no.
so, and ask anybody, they will tell you that you have
Oh man,
you're a natural. And
I
that's,
appreciate that.
like I said, that I've gotten better because of you. So that's just
I
my
appreciate you.
perspective. So, what do you think is the impact of student travel?
Oh my goodness. I think their ability to see a world that is bigger than what they see every day
Hmm.
makes all the difference in the world. I think about, you know, we talk so much in world language about global citizens, right? Like that's the goal, culture, global citizenship, and the ability to communicate, right? I always tell people that like it really made me sad how I learned Spanish and how no one ever asked me to conjugate a single verb in the four forms of the subjunctive. Like it never happened for me because I was ready. And even with the regulars, I could have done it.
Uh-huh.
And so really their ability to communicate in an effective way and their ability to like truly appreciate culture and all those other pieces, like that's the art of teaching the language. Like that's the beauty of it. That's the piece like keeps you coming back year after year for more, right? Is like that piece of it. And I think the ability to have children do that is I mean just such a wonderful thing. So and I think they come back so much more empowered, so much more curious, so much more energized for the
Hmm.
language. I mean, you think about those students that we had go when they were in Spanish 1 or 2. I can't think of a single one who didn't go all the way
Hmm.
through CAP, through Spanish 5.
Hmm.
All of them did. They
Hmm.
stayed with it. That says something.
Yeah, we did a great thing, didn't we?
I think so. A pat on the back there.
Yeah, I mean, cultural exchange, I think just has it's probably not measurable the impact that it has on a person's life, I think.
Agreed.
I mean,
Yes, agreed.
I'm an adult and having a chance to do those kinds of things as a grown up has changed my life, my adult life, you know?
Yes, and even those things that I remember like when we had that group that was really into sports, and I was like, I don't care about sports or soccer or anything that, but even those for me as a grown up, I was like, oh wow, this is pretty surreal. Wow, this is really cool. Wow, this is, and having those kinds of experiences, I think I can't imagine being 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 and doing it when as a grown up I was still like in awe of everything we were doing.
Mhm. Yeah, it's, and I miss that. I miss doing those things. I'm not saying I
Yes.
would go back and start teaching again because that's behind me. But
That's what I heard though. I heard that you want to come back.
good. But now I have some quick rapid fire questions for you. You
Okay,
ready?
I'm excited. I am.
Okay. So, would you rather walk or take public transportation?
Ooh, I think I would rather walk. Only because you get to see all these little things that you wouldn't otherwise see.
Mhm.
And I know that the minute you and I go somewhere again, I'm gonna regret saying that because you're gonna quote me back to me, and then I'm gonna hate my life 40,000 steps later. But yes, I think walking is probably, and then you get to stop and have like a little gelato or a little snack or, yeah, all the unexpected things that come with the walk.
I'm going to digress because it just reminded me of the time we took that Uber. I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but so we kind of, we took that Uber. I think we were going back to Loida's house. When it was in the evening. I don't know where we were coming from, but we were going back and it got dark and we told the Uber driver, this is our stop or this is our turn off the freeway because he was looking like he was going to miss it. He drove right past it. Do you remember this?
I totally remember this.
I
Yes.
if I'm not if it's just me, but well, I think you were feeling the same way. I know you were because I think we just looked at each other like, is he gonna kidnap us? Or
Yes, it was terrifying because he wasn't saying much. And I remember this because it was like 2 in the morning because we had been out and then we were, or maybe it wasn't two, maybe it was like one, but I remember it was after midnight.
Mhm.
And we picked up this, or we got a taxi right by, oh my gosh, where they have the Cervantes. Give me the plaza. They have Cervantes on one side. Yes, the Plaza de España. Um, I totally remember that because I remember it feeling really scary.
And I was
And
like,
then, oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
I was thinking, well, I can't say it in Spanish because he's gonna understand us. So, and I don't know if he speaks English, but we were just eye contact was just all we had. And I'm thinking, are we gonna have to bail? Are we gonna have to just open these doors and just fly and just roll out? Like,
Right, roll out. Yes, exactly. I totally remember this.
yeah.
And then it turned out that he was just new to the job and was completely lost. And he felt so embarrassed. And by then, I think you and I were both ready to cry, like, because we were in there for a while. And then we were like, he was driving us, like, we were on the highway going out of the city. I remember this because we were like, what is happening right now? That was terrifying. Yeah. Good time.
Such good times. And he
Oh,
was
goodness.
free because
He did.
so I'm happy that he wasn't trying to hurt us, but that was
Yes.
terrible.
Yes, yes, but this is where, right, language, like, had we been able to communicate effectively with each other, maybe we would have perceived it differently and he could have communicated everything to us and we would have been like, oh, okay, we're not getting kidnapped. Yay, you're just lost. That's fine.
Um, okay, best food in Spain.
Oh my goodness. That's so hard. I don't, oh gosh. Okay, remember when we had our Anthony Bourdain summer where we tried everything, like anything that anyone offered us, you and I were like, yes, we will try it. I
Hmm.
remember because Anthony Bourdain had just passed away.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I remember we had never tried more unique food than that.
Hmm.
Um, but I would have to say, our friend Loida, her mom makes such good, oh my gosh, how am I forgetting this? Oh, this is terrible. You might have to edit this out because I can't remember. The egg and like it's like
Yes.
potato. Yes, tortilla española. It's so good. And I, to this day, still have never had tortilla española as good as what she made.
Hmm.
Um, our friend Victor also made incredible food as
Hmm.
well, all the time.
I
So I
remember
don't, yeah.
Paris having dinner, or it was,
Yes.
yeah.
Did he make like a shepherd's pie or something like that? It was something, it was something that I was like, oh, I would never eat that typically, but it was really, really good. Um, Yeah, they also just had really good, this sounds really silly, but their orange juice is unmatched.
Oh, absolutely it is. We talk
It's unmatched.
we talk about that all the time. That's the best
Like
one ever.
you can't compare it to anything else. And anytime I tell people that, they look at me like, really? The orange juice? I'm like, no, you don't understand. It's next level.
It is. It really is.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Favorite activity?
Oh my goodness. We were so lucky that we were able to see the inside of Sagrada Familia for
Hmm.
so many years.
Hmm.
And before you and I traveled together, when I would do the tours and everything. So it was, I thought about that one day where I was like, wow, I essentially had, you know, 15, 16 years of being able to see the evolution of this. And
Hmm.
that was pretty incredible. Um, I don't know. Toledo to me is unmatched.
Hmm.
You can't beat it, even though you're dripping with sweat as you're going uphill, you know, all the time. Somehow you're always climbing up. You're like, how? I don't understand this. Um, but that Toledo's my favorite place on earth.
It is beautiful. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so well preserved, you know?
Yes, yes. And it's so my favorite thing about like Madrid and Toledo, and I love Barcelona. I really always enjoyed my time there. There's nothing like the Mediterranean. But it's such a touristy place. Do you know what I mean? Where when you go to Madrid and like Toledo, like Sevilla, all these places, like no, you're there to visit them. They're not there to accommodate you. And
Mhm.
there's something about that that I really appreciated and loved.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, Favorite city?
Oh, Cheryl, why would you do this to me? I, oof, gosh, I don't know. I really, oh gosh, I don't know. Um, how about you? Do you get to answer these or is it just me?
I mean, I can if you want me to.
Yes, tell me what's your favorite city?
Um, right now I feel like Sevilla,
Okay.
just because, well, I'm gonna name two. Sevilla because oh, there's just something about it. It's magical, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, but Madrid is like in my heart because maybe because our friends live there.
Yes.
It's just
Madrid feels like home.
it does. It
Madrid
feels
feels like home.
yeah.
Yes. I will say, what's the place with like the aqueducts, Segovia? I always really liked. I always felt like Segovia was a hidden gem.
Hmm.
If I had to choose a place, if I had to choose, I think for me Toledo, because it's unlike anything else.
Hmm.
It's just unlike anything else, and you feel like you are in a fairy tale.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
um,
And I don't think you can take a bad picture there, no
you
matter what.
can't. You can't. You start to feel like a real professional photographer, and it's not you. It's just the scenery. But yeah, um, but yeah, yes. But say I think Sevilla is beautiful too.
And but the thing about Toledo is like I always worry about getting lost. It's just what was the expression? Once lost in Toledo, always lost in Toledo.
Yes.
And it is so true.
Yes, that it is. That it is.
That made me nervous. But
Absolutely.
other than that, beautiful, beautiful. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to me about something that's so near and dear to my heart. And I just appreciate you and all that you've done for me.
Oh, ditto. No, I appreciate you. I'm forever grateful that, we were lucky enough to be neighbors, in our at FHS for as long as we were, and that we were able to be on so many adventures together, and forever grateful for that. And thank you for always, making me better.
I can right back at you. Okay, well, you have a wonderful day and I appreciate your time.
Yes, you too. Bye.
Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Nostalgic Travel Talks. I hope today's episode inspired you to dive deeper into your next journey. If you enjoyed our conversation, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It really helps others discover the show. And if you want even more insider tips, exclusive travel deals, and personal stories, be sure to sign up for my newsletter. Just head over to my website, nostalgictravelco.com, and hit subscribe. Until next time, keep exploring and keep making those unforgettable travel memories.